Yeah, hello senseis! The 4.5 anniversary is currently underway in Blue Archive Global as we're enjoying the beach with our Trinity wives in the new event Summer Skies Promise. And this week, the long-awaited 4.5 FES units Swimsuit Mika and Swimsuit Nagisa are finally making their debut in Global. Plus Dress Hina is also returning as the rerun Raid Up Anniversary banner alongside them. In this video, I'll be reviewing Swimsuit Mika, whereas Swimsuit Nagisa will be reviewed in a separate video, which should be up a day after this video is out. Meanwhile, I have already reviewed Dress Hina when she first released. I'll leave the links to these videos in the description. Anyways, without further ado, here is a short review of Swimsuit Mika. Wow! I know a lot of y'all are excited, and so am I. It is time to glaze the heck out of the leader of Trinity's Pater faction and the Tea Party's most extroverted member, possibly its most popular too. It is none other than our cherished racist gorilla princess who wants Sensei to praise her new swimsuit. It's Swimsuit Mika! Fellas, I remember there were some people complaining that her swimsuit looked too basic when she was first announced a few months ago. But that's just not true, and I think she still looks cute and beautiful in her new swimsuit. For one, I love its adorable frilly design and the simple white color. It definitely gives off pure say-so vibes, making her look even more like a princess, despite her having a pretty bodacious body, which by the way is on full display in her new swimsuit. From those fairly modest calcium cannons to those luscious legs that can snap my Bina in half with its gorilla grip strength rivaling Kanata's 07, as well as that delicious tummy that will give birth to a bunch of eggs once we're done playing on the beach at night. Plus, let's not forget her angelic wings that complement her cute white swimsuit. She looks even more like a beautiful wholesome angel who's excited to play at the beach with her friends and her crush, until she sees a Gehenna student and she calls them a filthy Gehenna pest with a hard R. All in all, I am a big fan of Mika's swimsuit design. I think she looks gorgeous, sexy, cute, and in my opinion, I think such a simplistic, elegant swimsuit design suits her personality and history. But regardless, I am glad that Mika has finally gotten her out after like 2 years, cause she deserves it. And for my many Mika bros, let's hope that Sensei treats her better in her new Momo talks, unlike her regulars. Plus, to be honest, I too am a fan of Mika, not just cause I love her redemption after volume 3, but also her sweet, caring side towards us and her friends. Finally, her L2D is absolute cinema, sitting with her at the beach under the purple starry sky filled with shooting stars, the mesmerizing ocean scene sparkling in the background, her golden beautiful eyes staring affectionately at us, and a small smile content with such a perfect peaceful moment, never wanting it to end. Fellas, if this isn't a sign to wife her up, I don't know what is. And my Mika bros, you guys are definitely winning. So, what kind of student is she? Well, Swimsuit Mika is a limited FES Sonic DPS striker with blue armor, whose base terrain moods are as follows: S combat power in urban terrains, A combat power in field, and D combat power indoors. She also rocks the standard DPS equipment set consisting of hat, pin, and watch. Now, let's go into detail about Swimsuit Mika's kit. First and foremost, she is currently the strongest Sonic single-target DPS unit in the game, excelling mainly in urban and field terrains. And this is primarily thanks to her unique, somewhat complex and hard-hitting EX skill, as well as the many potent self-buffs in the rest of her fairly simple kit. To start, she has a selectable main EX skill called Unforgettable Memory that has different effects depending on whether you use it on herself or the enemy, branching into 3 different EXs you can choose to activate. Firstly, at max level skill, her focus EX deals purple single target damage to one enemy with its massive 1571% multiplier. And if she is in rapid fire stance, she will always redraw her EX card instantly, but the base cost of this EX increases based on the number of times it has been used. 4 costs for the first and second use, 6 costs for the third and fourth time, and a whopping 10 costs from the 5th use onwards. Next, her 2 cost EX, which she can initially use on herself, allows her to immediately redraw her EX while entering the rapid fire stance for 30 seconds. And once the stance is over, her EX card is moved to the bottom of the deck and the cost increase effects that I mentioned earlier are reset. Finally, her 0 cost EX that is also used on herself lets her immediately exit the rapid fire stance, once again shuffling her EX to the back of the deck and resetting any of the base cost increase. As you can tell, her EX is pretty complicated, but to make things a bit more understandable, a simple EX skill flow of hers goes like this. this. You use a 2-cost EX on herself to put her in rapid fire stance. By the way, it is the number at the bottom. Then you can continuously use her damage dealing EX represented by the top number. Then you either activate her 0-cost EX or let her rapid fire stance expire so that the cost increase is reset. There are also other ways to use her EX. For instance, you can activate the 2-cost EX then the 0-cost to quickly cycle through your EX skills, which can be useful in situations where maybe you need to prioritize handling the fight's mechanics, or to increase Swimsuit Hanako's water gauge twice. Or you can also use a 4-cost EX without even entering the rapid fire stance, maybe because you're trying to finish off an enemy ASAP like for speedrun/high score clears, which is actually a fairly popular strat among top players, plus it is possible if you pair her with Rio who can duplicate her EX, as it will still deal a lot of damage though her card will rotate out like normal. This stance only helps her to activate it multiple times in a row and doesn't affect her damage. But ultimately, how you use her EX can vary based on the situation/your rotations. Not only that, her 4-cost EX is extremely strong thanks to not only its very high multiplier, but her ability to continuously launch her EX as she redraws it every time she procs it whilst in the rapid fire stance. While she can theoretically use this EX without any limit, she is obviously restricted by its cost increase effects based on the number of continuous activations as well as the stance's average 30-second duration, which is why realistically, you will most likely only be able to use her EX around 3 to 4 times before exiting the rapid fire stance, particularly since the 10 cost that comes with the 5th use is very expensive, though you can technically reduce it to 5 with cost cutting units, 2 for the 4-cost EX and 3 for the 6 cost. But regardless, using her EX for the 5th time onwards generally isn't as cost effective, though you might be able to do so depending on the units you're using and the content you're tackling, as in certain battles there are boosted cost recovery/cost halving effects that can assist in launching her EX more times. However, the good thing is that her EX works very well with long duration buffs, and by applying them just before or right after entering the rapid fire stance, you won't have to refresh them as much and you can just focus on launching her consecutive shots. Speaking of buffers, Swimsuit Mika's best partner is actually Swimsuit Nagisa, as her childhood friend's cost step ability will be a huge help in offsetting her enormous cost drawback, cause with Swimsuit Nagisa's cost overload buff, even if the cost meter is at 1, Swimsuit Mika can still instantly use her 4 or 6 cost EXs, as the former's buff lets her borrow up to a max of 5 extra costs to quickly gain access to her EX. However, this will result in the cost meter going into the negatives. Thus, this reduces the burden of having to regularly wait for the cost meter to reach the right amount and allows Mika to spam her EX earlier and rapidly, while also providing a potent crit damage buff to boost her damage. Plus, her buff's durations last for almost the same length as Mika's rapid fire stance, though again, it might not be worth for the 10 cost EX since you need to wait for the cost meter to hit at least 5 costs, while waiting for it to get out of the negatives, which will consume even more time. Again, unless there are cost boosting/reduction effects in the battle you're tackling. I hope my explanation on her EX makes sense, and when leveling it up, you don't need to level all 3 EXs separately, they're all still considered under 1 EX, and as you can see in this footage, you just need to level her main unforgettable memory EX. Moving on, the rest of her kit is fairly simple. Swimsuit Mika's basic skill increases her sonic effectiveness by a whole 59.8% at level 10 skill for 33 seconds every 40 seconds. While this potent SE buff can be very useful in boosting her damage output, especially since her purple weakness damage is increased by more than half, its 40-second activation time is pretty long, which can be a problem particularly for the initial trigger. However, there will only be a 7-second downtime between activations after the initial one. Next, with a max level sub skill, she further gains a permanent 49.25% purple effectiveness buff. Plus, it also ensures all her attacks are guaranteed crits. Swimsuit Mika is one of only 3 students alongside normal Mika and Nozomi to have this innate ability, not counting in Dress Kayako and Sayori, whose guaranteed crits don't affect all their attacks, with this being one of the best parts of her kit, as it essentially makes her very similar to her regular version, allowing her to constantly deal massive amounts of purple single target damage to the enemy without having to worry about crit molding, though there will still be accuracy or stability issues that you might suffer from, meaning you won't need to use crit buffs on her at all, and you can just focus on increasing her crit damage to boost her damage output. Plus, Swimsuit Mika in particular will actually greatly benefit from external crit damage buffs, since she doesn't exactly have any crit damage self buffs in her kit except for her UE4 UE40. Aside from that, her sub's passive 49.25% SE buff, combined with her basics, results in her purple weakness damage being increased by a huge 109%, which can provide a significant boost to her firepower. Meanwhile, her enhanced skill increases her normal attack range and her attack by 100 and 21.2% respectively, with the former being present on other FES units like Hoshino DPS and Uniform Neru, changing her to more or less a middle position student as she will stay slightly behind the tank, which can actually be pretty useful since she isn't as durable as her regular counterpart, so this can improve her survivability a bit more. Her enhanced skill plus at UE40 increases her crit damage by 3800 or 38% at max level skill, which is an excellent investment because again, this is the only crit damage self buff in her kit, and it is especially needed for a unit with guaranteed crits like her. Not to mention, it'll be a big help in harder endgame content, so I would personally recommend getting her to this level if possible. Plus, it is generally a good thing to invest slightly more into DPS FES units as they are usually extremely powerful and meta. Lastly, her UE50 upgrades her urban combat power from S to SS, while her UE60 grants her an additional 10% sonic effectiveness. The former can also be a decent investment as it makes her even stronger in urban battles, being helpful for difficulties like Lunatic, plus there are quite a number of single target urban raids too. Not so much her UE60 though, as the additional 10% sonic effectiveness will only give a minimal damage boost since she already has a lot, so I wouldn't personally recommend getting this level, especially cause it costs a lot of LF/Parox. Unless you really need the extra HP stats at this level, or if Mika is your waifu, or if you get really lucky with your pulls. Overall, Swimsuit Mika is an extremely powerful sonic single target damage dealer who can continuously launch her strong EX shots at the expense of using up extra costs the more times she uses it, whilst possessing many potent self buffs like her innate guaranteed crit, sonic effectiveness, and crit damage buffs. So, where can she be used in? Well, much like her regular counterpart, who is the most powerful piercing DPS unit in the game and is used in literally almost every yellow single target content, Swimsuit Mika has actually become the premier go-to sonic single target damage dealer for most purple and sometimes blue content, cause purple deals 1.5 times damage to blue armor that contains strong single target bosses, especially excelling in those that take place in urban/field terrains. And she is brought into almost every Sensei's teams as the main hyper carry, with her firepower vastly overshadowing and eclipsing most other purple single target attackers, with Nozomi being the sole exception who in terms of raw damage can compete with her if the battle is located indoors, cause again, our Shuppogaki's affinity in this terrain is superior to our princess's D combat power. Nevertheless, Swimsuit Mika has become the meta pick in most single target purple content as she is able to absolutely demolish the boss due to her ability to continuously spam her guaranteed crit EX skill. Not to mention, you can also partner her with her fellow Swimsuit Tea Party members, aka Swimsuit Nagisa, who again can help her launch her consecutive EX skills more easily while significantly boosting her crit damage, as well as Swimsuit Seiya, who can further increase her damage output by greatly upping her EX skill damage. She also works amazingly with attack buffers such as Kamhare, Himari, Kotama, and Rio, who also has the added EX duplication ability, other crit damage hyper buffers like Niofuka, Dress Aru, Dress Akko, and Akko, though remember she won't exactly benefit from both Akko's crit buffs, as well as cost reduction units to half her EX's cost once it becomes really expensive. But while she can also work with Hikari, who can improve her sonic effectiveness by more than 100%, Swimsuit Mika already has a lot of built-in SE, so she won't benefit as much from Hikari's SE buffs as the damage increase isn't as high. But this can be a good thing cause it allows you to use other units with Swimsuit Mika, and you can reserve Hikari for an extra team to buff another purple DPS unit like Swimsuit Hanako, or better yet, Nozomi, who requires her. Nevertheless, all these combined with her already powerful kit can transform Swimsuit Mika into King Kong, as her damage output goes through the roof, since she is able to continuously demolish and shred through a purple armored enemy. And whoever you use with her will definitely depend on the content you're tackling, the rotations you want to execute, your roster/team comp, etc., and you definitely won't be using her with every single one of them. In terms of specific content for my newer senseis, while she isn't as useful for early game content, you can still use her on stages that you're struggling on, and you'll most likely be using her in the future anyways as you progress through the game. This is because she is mainly utilized in endgame content such as specific joint firing drills, and more importantly in raids. Since her release, she has been brought into every single purple armored grand assault regardless of difficulty. difficulty, whether it be Insane or below, Torment or Lunatic. Becoming the meta DPS pick for these raids, it should be able to quickly destroy the boss and allow for one-punch clears on most difficulties, even on Torment, thanks to her extremely high firepower, though you will obviously still need the appropriate units, investment strategies, and understanding of the raid to do so. For example, there's Purple Urban Winner, being mainly paired with Swimsuit Nagisa and Swimsuit Seiya to take down the giant snake, with a number of JP senseis using 2 teams for Torment, borrowing an extra Mika for their second team. Purple Armored Cheese Phase 2 to rapidly defeat the boss when he opens up, and unlike a regular version, she won't have as much accuracy issues despite his high evasion since her accuracy is way higher. Aside from those, she was also used in the fairly recent Purple/Blue Urban Hieronymus GA in JP on Insane and below, simply to use our local punching bag as target practice. Plus, she takes less damage from his raid attacks. Not only that, even for the indoor Purple Shirokuro raid and for any other future indoor single target Purple raid, while Nozomi is technically better suited in this particular terrain, Swimsuit Mika is still very much a viable option cause her damage is just that high, and you can definitely use her especially if you just want a nice comfy clear on Insane and below. Kind of like how many senseis just use normal Mika for any yellow single target content even in urban terrains despite her bad affinity. Other than that, her blue armor can be a problem against certain bosses with blue attack, but there currently aren't many bosses that have this and need single target attackers, with the only real one being HOD, so you need to manage her properly in the purple version of this raid whenever it rolls around. Kurokage and Greg don't matter as you need AoE DPS units for them, so you won't be using her against them anyways. There's also Purple Wakamo Hovercraft, Purple Kaiten, and Purple Gauze that will need to test her in as they haven't returned, though I expect her to also be excellent in these raids in the future. And finally, there's Yasod, the new Purple Total Assault boss. She has become an essential unit for this raid, specifically for Phase 1. Her primary role in this raid is to help destroy the lanterns in Phase 1 one by one in quick succession using her rapid fire mode in order to block Yasod's left or right hand/chest attacks. And to help with this, you would use another DPS unit like Swimsuit Hanako with her to destroy the lanterns faster, alternating between their EXs, though you can just use Swimsuit Mika as a sole lantern destroyer too, as well as taking advantage of the cost halving buff the particular student receives for destroying the lantern and the additional skill cost that is granted for each remaining student left in the team, greatly reducing the burden of Swimsuit Mika's EX's cost increase as a 10 cost is reduced to 5. Not only that, she is also used to deal damage to Yasod whenever he gets stunned. However, due to his extremely high damage reduction buff and lack of groggy gauge in this phase, Wakamo is actually the best DPS unit for this raid thanks to her accumulation stack that's able to ignore this damage resist. And purple damage dealers like Swimsuit Mika are needed to support her accumulated damage / help her destroy the lanterns since Wakamo can't directly destroy them. Though on Torment and Lunatic, you can also use Swimsuit Mika in an additional team as the main damage dealer. Plus, she takes less damage from his raid attacks and her damage is boosted in his urban terrain. So in conclusion, should you pull for Swimsuit Mika? Well, in my opinion, 100% yes, you should, cause she would definitely carry you through a lot of purple single target content, especially on the harder difficulties, letting you have smoother / comfier clears. Moreover, she is a limited FES unit who will only return during the next anniversary, where you have a chance of spooking her, with her rerun banner only returning during, to be honest, I don't know when. Plus, there's also double drop rate for 3-star units, excluding the on-banner character. So I personally feel you should definitely pull on these FES banners regardless, cause it is a great opportunity to get her as well as other 3-star students that you don't have, including other previous anniversary units. Not to mention, you also likely be getting more Eligma thanks to the increased drop rate for 3-star units, which you can then use to buy more of her Alefs in case you didn't get more copies. If you're wondering who to prioritize between Swimsuit Mika, Swimsuit Nagisa, and Dress Hina, well, technically Swimsuit Nagisa would be the logical choice cause she is more flexible as a unique crit damage / cost overload hyper buffer, but the other two have become the main DPS carries in their own respective color content, which is why I feel you can prioritize getting Swimsuit Nagisa first, then decide who you want / need between the both of them if you don't have Dress Hina yet. Though remember, you can still spook either of them on the other two FES banners. Regardless, you should absolutely try to own all 3 of them cause they are powerful FES units, and if you're one of the many Mika bros who wants to show our gorilla that she is truly our princess wife and not a witch while enjoying the starry night sky with her in her beautiful L2D, then go ahead and prioritize pulling for her. And that's all for this review. Again, the Swimsuit Nagisa review will be uploaded in a separate video. Link will be in the pinned comment once it's up. Please go check it out once it is. It really helps me out. Anyways, thanks for watching. Let me know who you're pulling for if you are. Good luck with your pulls, and I'll see y'all in the next one.